was awesome.
Yeah, man.
Nice, Brett.
All right. So check this out. You guys ready? We good? We feeling it?
I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
How could I not between you guys?
Feeling good.
So we got two of my favorite players in the world. They obviously both need no introduction, but if it's your first time here, we got Guthrie Trapp in the far, Tim in the middle, Tim Pierce, I should say. So we have a whole lot of melody between the two of you. Let's break it down. Start with Guthrie. Well, how do you see the fretboard? What's your go-to? Chord scales, caged.
Yeah, people have probably heard me say this before, but I don't know any music theory or didn't grow up learning any trained way. So I play a lot by ear and by kind of just knowing my chord shapes and the things that work for me that I've learned around those. So I see a kind of a big importance in the cage system. Really works for me. Seeing that your different shapes.
Hey, look at that big one over there. Big one in the back.
Okay.
Cameras everywhere. It's like paparazzi.
We've got an audience here. So one-eyed audience. So yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, I learned my open C chord and open positions and the scales around those. And then I was stuck playing lead on like a bluegrass guitar down in the first 4 or 5 frets, and a lot of open strings, and I was stuck down there. And every time I tried to solo or play anything up the neck, I got completely lost until I saw this this video one time that said, hey, learn your open chords and all the scales around those, and then learn, the scales and shapes around all the chords moving up the neck. Well, that opened up a ton of doors, and now when I teach people, I try to relate to them how important that was as a kid for me to learn.
Sure.
And everybody has their own way of teaching, but that was a big door opener for me. And playing this kind of thing that we just did, B minor is the relative minor of D, so you're really not changing a whole lot other than what you're hearing and what you want to play melodically and what you want to play as far as trying to be as soulful as you can. I'm not thinking really as much over what chords I'm having to play over, because it's in kind of the same ballpark.
Sure.
And that's the beauty of a chord progression like that is you kind of have some freedom of kind of bending a couple of strings, and it kind of makes you not want to overplay. Yeah. In a way.
And so if we took the chords really slowly and went like,
Okay, so it's D, and then B minor, and then G. Same cycle, and then I break the G in half and do an E minor. And so the reason I chose these chords is because we could turn our minds off. Yeah. Pretty much.
Right.
As an example.
If you're going to give it use an example of how you could start to solo more melodically, it would be D major pentatonic or B minor, right? Is that basically what you're playing out of? But how would you, if I did a D chord, or whatever, like what would you start to look for in order to what you were talking about, see those chords all over the neck?
A lot of times I'm thinking on a tune like this, I'm almost thinking, kind of, not to name names, but almost like a Mark Knopfler or a Vince Gill type of thing, where he's a lot of times resolving to the 5 of the chord versus the 1. So whatever I'm playing, I want to kind of change it up a little bit. So if I'm playing out of D, it could be something like
So given the example of
the 5.
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
You're using the 5 just to get away from playing exactly. Yeah.
Versus what would the 1 sound like? So if I did D, do the 5 and then resolve to the 5 and then resolve to the 1.
Or you could go, that would be resolving to the 1.
Right. Both sound great, but the first is different.
Yeah, it might lead to another melody or somewhere else to go.
Yeah. More neutral.
So if we're still talking bare bones like nursery rhyme, when we go to the second, so if I go from D to B minor, what are you thinking?
So there, if I was just thinking about that, I'm thinking about this shape, my G shape. So right there. That's a phrase. Yeah. And then I'm thinking this. That covers the B minor. So we're still in this. We're still in that world, but know. And then there's your 4.
Yep.
Right there. So all the notes are in that scale. It's just a matter of how you phrase it and how you resolve. To me, it's kind of the key.
And you kind of have to pay attention when it goes to the 4 chord, because sometimes you want to be able to kind of get right up to it.
Right.
So really, in my mind, I simplify, and I'm really going from D to G, and just like what you just did, which is land on the 1 of the G chord. So
right.
Other than that, you can kind of float through D major.
And then you can also, when you go to the 4 chord, well, I didn't mean to do that, but when you go to the G, you can kind of throw in that, like the G major 7, which you're using kind of the major third of the of the 1. So when he did go to the G,
yeah, slow something like that. I guess give us a little roadmap. A little roadmap of what you were doing.
Like he did, ended on that. We both kind of, instinctively went to that, right to that 4 chord, or the 1, or the G, the 1 of the 4 chord, and then I just did a little out of this shape, your G shape there, but hitting the major 7, right?
Yeah. Which is basically D over G. You're visualizing D over G.
Yeah.
Oh,
and it's that beautiful third of D. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's always a little trick there. And then just going right into your, so I'm thinking this shape there. And then by then you're probably ready to resolve back to the 1 for a change to bring it back home. But that's kind of how I'm looking at it.
What about you, Tim?
I'm seeing the chord shapes. You guys, we've talked about that a lot. I mean, it's very important for creating melodies and actually for creating safe places to land.
Right.
When it's going to the G, my mind will switch and I'll see G's all over the fretboard. Here. And that gives me a safe place to land when we're on the 4 chord. Unless I'm thinking major 7, which was beautiful. It's a great thing too. But I also see the scales and the modes. I know you do too. I've never known the names of the modes. I'm learning them now because I'm teaching more.
Right.
But I see the modes very clearly. And I'll just move my fingers up to the 12th fret, let's say, and I'm in different mode, different position. Up here. So every advance up the neck, up the scale, gives me a new place to hang around and do kind of strange stuff. Like if I'm here, the 7th,
Nice.
as long as you resolve that, you can get away with some odd things.
And I'm glad to hear you say that, because I'm looking at it pretty much the exact same way, to where when you say to people that you're playing out of the chord shape, they kind of get it, but what we mean is we're looking at that as like our home base.
Exactly.
And then once you visualize those chord shapes, it is about the scales and stuff around them. But yeah, when you go to the 4 chord, or in this instance you go to G, I'm like, Tim, I'm seeing G everywhere. And that becomes, we have our vocabulary in all those different positions.
Yeah.
And that's what starts tying it all together.
Yeah. And then you can throw a double stop.
Oh yeah, right.
And then the 1 string playing, which is very effective, which John Mayer does a lot.
He does that a lot.
It's
cool. Yeah.
It forces you to play melodically just because you're on 1 string.
Right.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right, so check all their links below. Again, we got Guthrie Trapp, Tim Pierce, I'm Brett Papa. I'll leave all the social stuff below. You guys are amazing. Feel free to chime in, because I see both of them quite regularly. So if you have comments or questions you'd like to ask, let us know. All right, thanks for watching. Well, we got 2 amazing players in the room. Why don't we keep jamming a little bit?
Okay, one more round.
Yeah, let's do it.